Look, at Monday morning, Alaska, we're still dealing with an ongoing series of storms that have been impacting the state, with some of the greatest impacts today being felt across western and northern parts of the state. We've got numerous areas that remain up under some form of a weather alert. Now, giving you a look outside, I do believe this is looking towards Fire Island from here in Anchorage. You can see those overcast skies remain with us. While we're not expecting to see much in the way of rain today across South Central, most of the impacts again will be felt towards areas of western Alaska, even as you head into the interior, where you can see along the Steese Highway some light rain showers already falling. We've got those overcast skies for South Central. Meanwhile, out towards southeast, you can see Ketchikan, clear skies staying with us, more sunshine and warmth to be expected. In fact, Ketchikan could top out in the upper 70s, possibly even near 80 degrees. There is parts of southeast that remains up under a heat advisory through the evening hours. But of course, what we're dealing with this morning, you can see temperatures anywhere from 30s out towards the slope to 50s and 60s as you head across the rest of the state. Notice that green blotting the map. That is that rain that is spreading across Alaska, and you can see it's really gripping areas of western Alaska through parts of the Brooks Range and into the central interior. Not so much for the eastern interior, but rain showers are still to be expected for the central and eastern interior throughout the day. So this is what we're going to be talking about when it comes to that rainfall. We've got that stormy weather out west, heavy rain and gusty winds. This is ongoing rain that has been with us since last week, and we're also talking about the potential for some coastal flooding for areas of southwest Alaska, where we do have a coastal flood advisory that goes into effect by 11 a.m. So notice we got flood watches, we got wind advisories, that coastal flood advisory that's out towards the Kuskokwim Delta coast, and then a sliver of southeast that's out towards Hyder is up under a heat advisory through this evening for an outside chance that temperatures could warm into the lower 80s. So while most of Alaska is dealing with wetter weather, those cloudier conditions and windy weather, southeast is still holding on to some summertime warmth, with temperatures actually warming even more as we welcome in the middle to the end of the work week. Before that coastal flood advisory that goes into effect at 11 a.m. through 6 p.m. this evening, that's for water levels 1.5 to 2.5 feet above the normal highest tide line. That will be exacerbated by some of that southwesterly flow with those winds, which could gust anywhere from 40 to about 50 plus miles per hour for areas of western and southwest Alaska. So this is what we've been dealing with for the past several days. Notice this morning those winds have been gusting upwards of 25 miles per hour in Unalaska, nearly 50 miles per hour, 45 to 50 miles per hour from Gamble, St. Lawrence out towards Cold Bay, even Bethel beginning to see some of those gustier conditions. And notice that flow pulling in all of that moisture as well as those winds coming in from the south. That's why we also have that coastal flood advisory that does remain in effect through the remainder of today for parts of southwest Alaska. So that's what we're going to see with those wind gusts. Now notice here over about the next 48 hours, these gusty winds, they will blow around unsecured objects. We'll see some of the highest winds occurring through the Alaska range. And those purples you're seeing popping up on the map, that's winds in excess of about 60 miles per hour. Those reds, yellows and reds, that's about 30 to 50 mile an hour winds. But we're going to expect to see these winds steadily increasing and pushing to the east northeast throughout the day. So practically all of western Alaska, the Alaska range, even parts of the Brooks Range will see some gusty conditions here over the next couple of days. Now, while winds do begin to subside for many coastal areas by Tuesday evening into our Wednesday, we'll still see parts of southwest Alaska, really the western interior out towards Bristol Bay, and then of course parts of the Alaska range out towards eastern parts of the Brooks Range, still holding on to some localized areas of wind gust up to about 30 to 50 miles per hour, with some localized higher wind gusts to be expected through the middle of the week. So that's what we're going to be watching in terms of those winds. We could even see some power outages where areas in some of those areas where the winds remain the strongest. So we've got that ridge still with us, particularly across southeast is where we're seeing it the strongest. That trough that's out towards the Bering Sea and dipping down through parts of the Aleutians. As that ridge kind of backs off, we're going to begin to see that trough slipping slowly towards the east, and that's going to spread more of that rain across the state. While here in South Central, we will largely stay on the dry side today and tomorrow. We can't rule out a spotty to isolated shower in the forecast, but by Wednesday, we're going to begin to see that uptick in rainfall, which will carry us into the close of the week, where we could even see heavier activity across parts of South south central. So that upper level flow continuing to favor moisture streaming in from the southwest, and that's going to keep that rain with us. So for today, you can see southwest Alaska tapping into that rain. We're going to see the system moving from the southwest to northeast. So areas north of the Seward Peninsula, we're going to begin to see that heavy rainfall spreading north throughout the rest of today and into the evening hours. There is that potential that we could see 2 to 3 plus inches of rain accumulation, with some spots topping out near 4 plus inches, particularly through the Nulato Hills, out towards western parts of the Brooks Range. We could even see parts of Norton Sound out towards Shaktoolik, seeing the potential for several inches of rainfall accumulation as well. So be prepared for that. And then, of course, later today into the overnight hours on into our Tuesday, we'll be watching areas of the Brooks Range and parts of the slope, particularly in those higher elevations of the Brooks Range, where we may see a transition to some wintry mix, if not some snow, through the overnight hours into Tuesday. This comes as colder weather, or cooler air, I should say, begins to filter in on the backside of that low that remains with us across a good portion of the state. You can see by Tuesday, rain beginning to spread across coastal areas of south central, ongoing rain through the western interior, and most of this not really showing any signs of letting up through a large portion of this week. But by Wednesday, we really will begin to see that rain spreading across south central, which will likely be widespread by week's end. So into the evening hours, you can see up to a half an inch, if not localized heavier amounts to be expected through the Seward Peninsula. Notice those yellows popping up on that expected rainfall map. This is through dinner time this evening. So that's parts of the Brooks Range, maybe even a sliver of the Arctic Plains, where we could see up to 2 inches of rainfall accumulation between now and dinner time. And then on, even more rain is to be expected from Tuesday on into Wednesday. So those reds you're seeing popping up, this is where we may see that potential for up to 4 inches of rainfall, if not some slightly higher amounts. But you know, though, through eastern parts of the interior here in south central, how we'll largely stay on the drier side the next couple of days. That's because our influence of that ridge is still with us. You can really see that for the Panhandle, where limited rainfall is to be expected here over the next couple of days. We can't rule out a spot shower that could dot parts of the outer coast, and of course Yakutat will also tap into some of that rain by the middle of the week. So temperatures still warming, still in the mid to upper 60s, although with those overcast skies and those rain showers and the winds, it tends to kind of fool us and make it feel a bit cooler outside than what it's actually reflecting. But temperatures should still manage to warm into the mid to upper 60s. Out towards Tok, we may actually hold on to some sunshine today with those temperatures warming in the 70s. Now by week's end and into the weekend, we're actually going to see a downward trend in our temperatures with highs dropping back down into the lower 60s. Yes, cloud coverage is with us. That doesn't mean we won't see any sunshine. We may see a mix of some sun and clouds Tuesday into Wednesday for Fairbanks and surrounding locations as we see a bit drier weather, but for the most part expect cloud coverage to remain with us here over the next couple of days. And you can see statewide those temperatures likely again warming 50s and 60s for many areas outside of locations north of the slope, and of course summer still reigning supreme out towards the Panhandle, and there's no signs of any significant cool down for the time being. In fact, by Friday, while today Juneau is expecting a high of 68, by Friday Juneau could see temperatures in the upper 70s, which means Ketchikan likely could see temperatures this week warming into the 80s. So summer still in the forecast for parts of the Panhandle, or really for parts of Alaska, while the rest of Alaska is seeing that shift towards more of a fallish weather pattern, where we're seeing that uptick in rain, winds, cloud coverage, and some cooler conditions. So here in Anchorage and south central, again, can't rule out a spot to isolated shower throughout today, but largely expecting dry conditions with overcast skies. We will want to watch this evening, as we could see some breezy conditions develop across parts of south central. Those winds will primarily be out of the southeast, so those will be our warming winds, and that's winds could be anywhere from about 20 to about 35 miles per hour, with some of the strongest winds through out towards Kinnick Arm, western parts of south central and into the Copper River Basin. Of course, we are going to see again some spotty to isolated showers, which we can't rule out into our Tuesday, we see a better chance for rain beginning to build into our coastal areas of South Central, and then late Tuesday night into Wednesday. This is when all of South Central really begins to tap into that rainfall pattern that's going to lead to a wetter pattern to close out the week. In fact, to close out August and welcome in September, we're still going to favor wet conditions across the vast majority of the state. Outside again of southeast, which continues to see the influence of that ridge, which will lead to summertime sunshine, warmth, as well as temperatures potentially warming into the 80s. So here across South Central, again, like we are seeing in the interior, temperatures will still warm, mid to upper 60s the next couple of days. Our average high this time of year right around 62 to 63 degrees, so we're slightly above average, but for all intents and purposes, we're just going to call it fairly seasonal conditions, as this is what we tend to see for late August. We can't rule out some isolated showers, but there's that rain really building in by the middle of the week on into the weekend. We want to watch Thursday and Friday because that could bring some heavy rainfall. There's signs pointing to the potential of 1 to 2 inches by week's end for Anchorage and surrounding locations. That doesn't mean it's going to occur, but we are watching that trend to see if we will have that potential for some heavier rain by week's end. Regardless of that, by the weekend, we are going to see a mix of sun and clouds, a chance for some showers remaining with us, but much like the interior, we're also going to see slightly cooler weather with those temperatures dipping back into the lower 60s. So those overcast skies remain with us. Again, those temperatures still warming quite nicely. If you're in southeast, enjoy that summertime warmth and dry weather that will stay with us for the time being. Of course, we could see a chance for some showers for southeast arriving or really beginning to build back into the forecast starting late this weekend and into early next week. We'll have more on that coming up in the noon show as well as in the evening newscast. For now, make sure you have a great Monday and the rest of the work week. And if you live out west in those areas affected by those rain showers and windy conditions, let us know what you're seeing. Send us some photos. You can go to our website and click on the Submit Photos tab, and they'll send them to us here at the station, and we'll use those photos because they greatly help tell the weather story that we're seeing from across Alaska. And again, have a great Monday. We'll see you again later this afternoon on the Noon Show.